All right, everyone. This is a parable that Jesus told his disciples that illustrates Jesus' upside down kingdom. And we've been talking this entire lesson cycle about the upside down kingdom. And who remembers when Jesus said, the last will be first and the first will be last? Do you remember? Okay, that's good, because this parable is going to illustrate what that means. We're going to illustrate part of what that means. And I want you to listen carefully, because this parable is going to illustrate your heart, and it's going to reveal something about God's heart, okay? So Jesus told the parable like this. There was a farmer who had this huge field, and it was the time of the harvest. And he needed workers to come and harvest his field for him. And so he went to the town about 7 a.m. in the morning, because the day starts at 7, and he found some workers and asked them, hey, will you come work my fields for me and harvest for me? And if you work all day until 7 p.m., I'll pay you 100 dirhams. And the workers agreed. They said, okay, great. And so they went out and they started working. And then the farmer went to his field and said, man, I need some more workers. So at about 10:30 in the morning, he went back out to the town. He found some more workers and said, hey, come harvest my field for me, and then I'll pay you whatever's right. And then those workers went and started harvesting his field. Then the farmer went out again back to the market at 3 p.m. He found some more workers and said, hey, I need some more workers to come harvest my field. Will you come work my field? They said yes. They went and started harvesting. And then at 6 p.m., he went back to the market, and he found some more workers. And he said, hey, what are you doing standing around all day? I still need more people to harvest my field for me. Will you go work? They said, yeah, sure. And they went and worked. And at 7 o'clock, he called his manager. He said to his managers, hey, call the workers in and then pay them their wages for the day. Starting with the people who just came at 6 o'clock, and then ending with the people who came at the beginning of the day. And so when the people who came at 6 o'clock arrived, they got paid 100 dirhams. And then the same thing for everyone until the people who came at the beginning of the day. And the people at the beginning of the day, when they saw the other people getting paid, they said, oh, we must be getting paid more because we worked all day, right? And when they arrived at the manager paid them 100 dirhams. And then they started to get angry. And they said, we worked all day long in the heat of the day, and this person that came at 6 p.m., they only worked for an hour, and they got paid the same amount that we did. That's not fair. And they started grumbling at the farmer. And the farmer said, hey, I didn't do anything wrong to you. When I came to you at the beginning of the day, you agreed to work for 100 dirhams for the whole day. And if I want to pay someone else 100 dirhams for working 1 hour or 3 hours, that's my business. Why are you getting mad at me for being generous? And Jesus said, and so the last will be first, and the first will be last. Now, do you think what the farmer did was fair or right? Raise your hand before you answer. Do you think what the farmer did was fair or right? Elle, what do you think?
It's kind of fair.
It's kind of fair? Why do you think it was fair?
Because he actually said what they're gonna do and how they're gonna get paid.
Yeah.
But in reality, he said we're gonna do an activity and never stated what activity it was.
Who thinks it was unfair? Let me ask you this. Who might think it was unfair?
I think it was.
You think it was unfair? Why do you think it was unfair?
Well, I have one reason for fair and sort of unfair, so I'm
Sure.
kind of in between.
Sure.
Unfair, because I get they worked all day and the people only worked, let's say, 30 minutes,
Yeah.
and they could just do that and get the same amount of money.
Yeah.
It'd be way less work. But then again, the person can pay them whatever they want, and they agreed. So it's kind
Right.
of in between.
Right. Andrew, what do you think?
I think that it's both because first of all,
Okay, you think it's both fair and
I mean,
unfair.
I think
Okay.
it's unfair for some of the people who worked at the start of the day, but then they were arguing about somebody else's business,
Mhm.
and they were trying to go.
Yeah.
And keep paying then some extra money just because he was looking at the later.
Yeah.
So people just need money to listen to this.
Okay.
I think it was fair because they might have worked at the same time, but they must have worked like the same amount. It must have been also hard for them to work, even 30 minutes or not. So I think it was fair.
You think it was fair? Okay. Thomas?
I think it's fair because Jesus said that he never sinned, and he said the first will be last and the last will be first. So
Yeah.
it's all fair.
Okay, let me tell you what this illustrates about God's kingdom. All right? And this is very, very important. All right? So that you, okay, believe in Jesus, even though you're young, okay? Doesn't mean, and let's take you who believe in Jesus and you're very young, and let's take someone like Pastor Ray, who's the pastor of this entire big church, okay? In Jesus' eyes, Pastor Ray doesn't get any greater reward than anybody else in this room that believes in Jesus. It doesn't matter how old that he is, how long he's been with Jesus. It doesn't matter how young you are, or even if you've been believing in Jesus for a short amount of time. The reward is going to be the same. Why? Because Jesus is generous. All right? Because Jesus is generous. And if you look at it from the perspective of what it reveals about the hearts of the people who were upset, they were upset because the farmer was being generous to the people who came later. The farmer didn't have to give the people who came later the same amount, but he did because he's kind and he's generous. And when someone is being kind and generous, that should be something we should be happy about and celebrate. It should be something we should be mad about. And that's the same way in God's kingdom. Jesus will be generous to those who are new Christians, who may not have been Christians as long, or may not have done as much, or seem to have done as much as other Christians. He's still going to be generous with the reward. Okay? And that's the upside down kingdom. That's what it means when the last will be first and the first will be last. What it means that the last will be first. When we were playing that game, did any of you think that the way to win the game is to actually lose it? Does anybody ever think about that? Or the way to win the game is to actually let someone else go before you and win? Right, nobody ever thinks of that. But that's the way, listen, that's the way it works, and that's the way it works in God's kingdom. He wants you always to put others first. He wants you always to think of others first and put others before yourself. That's what it means, the last will be first and the first will be last. All right, you're going to break into our small groups? Yes.